Gabrielle Rawson, and this is Cape Media News Conversations. I'm here with Deputy Chief Xiarhos, who has just announced his retirement after 40 years of service with the Yarmouth Police Department. Deputy Chief Xiarhos, thank you for being here.
Oh my God, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me and us.
Absolutely. So first of all, congrats on your retirement. It's very well deserved. Tell us the details. Why now and what's next?
That's a great question. Well, we hit the 40-year mark. September 1st, 1979 was my first day. I was 19. Oh my goodness. So 40 years later, that was quite a milestone to hit that. The department is in great shape. You know, I've actually participated in hiring everybody there, when you think about it, and promoting them. So it's in great shape. 40 years is a long time, but it's hard to leave because I love it. I still love it. I love the uniform. I love helping people. But also there's an opportunity for to become an elected official. And that's part of the plan, to perhaps like close this chapter and open another chapter, but always about helping people. That's how I was made. And
that is very apparent. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for almost 7 years, and you really are incredible and a huge asset to the community. Thank you. And so I'm excited to hear that you may run, and actually we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But first, you know, 40 years of service with a vast range of roles and projects.
Yes.
Can you share some of the highlights with me?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know, the first day being a summer officer, you know, with a full head of hair and a mustache and tinted glasses, you know. Actually, I was 18. Wow. My dad had to buy the gun because I couldn't legally have one at the time. But I loved it, helping people, working the beach, and then was fortunate enough to take the test and, you know, graduate from Cape Cod Community College with a degree, and then was chosen to be a police officer at age 19. And so I think right from the start, it was a gift. And then to be a patrol officer, helping people, but also protecting. There's something about me that I want to help everybody, but also protect. I'm not the type of person, let's say someone was in an argument or being threatened, I wouldn't walk by or I wouldn't call. I would be the type that would do something about it. So as a patrol officer, you do a lot of that. And then I think another highlight was becoming the first school resource officer. That was very different. So I was a police officer and I loved it. And they kept saying, you know, we want you to become the school resource officer at DY. And I remember saying, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be a real cop, you know.
Right.
And they interviewed me. It was a joint decision, and they selected me. And on Friday, I went from being a patrol officer to a Monday morning walking the halls of the high school with 1,000 kids and a totally new role. And I loved it. And those kids who were like 16 and 15 and 17, they're my friends now. And I'm meeting their kids. So we built a beautiful relationship. That's what policing really is all about. And then to become a sergeant, and that was one of my favorite roles, where you could be with your people. You know, you know, as their leader, you always took care of your people. That's they're doing an incredible job. And you know what? I got to work with heroes, and that's special. And then to become lieutenant and then deputy chief, and a lot of highlights, you know. I think they all revolve around helping people and technology. You know, we've seen how technology is incredible now in police work.
A big part of it.
Yeah, it is. So there's been a lot of great memories.
Yes, in 40 years, you must have seen a lot of technology. I can only imagine.
You know, in my day, there were no cell phones when we first started.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't even have a radio in the cruiser. You had a 6-shot revolver, and you put the bullets in one at a time. And then as time has gone on, we have social media, we have computers everywhere, we have the latest technology, the best equipment, and that's the way it should be.
That's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about some of the community projects that you've been involved with. I believe I met you through the Toys for Tots program. So, I mean, there's a ton of them, Toys for Tots, Special Olympics, Learn to Cope,
Yes.
the school backpacks and clothing. I can't remember the name of that program, but I know you're part of that.
Back to school shop with a cop.
Back to school
Yeah.
shop with a cop, the Sean Gannon training facility,
Yes.
and of course, Big Nick's Ride.
Yeah.
So could you talk to me a little bit about these
Yes.
projects?
Yes. Most of them just happen. One thing about us, Chief Frederickson, who is my chief, we started on the same day, right? 40, the same day, and here we are still. He has a saying, you can't get a hit unless you swing the bat. So we would come up with ideas, and we wouldn't have policies, we wouldn't think it all out. We would just say, that's a good idea, let's do it. So those things like that came up. Again, all about helping people, all about building a bridge, because some people judge law enforcement. I'm wearing a uniform, like a DUI. Wow, DUI must be bad if they have a police officer. But I remember coming up with a line saying, well, don't all schools have a nurse? Oh, yes, that's right. Well, does that mean everybody's sick? No, they're there as part of the community. So these different events help the community. We raise more food if the police are there. We'll get more donations if the police are there. They're more successful in a way when the police are there, but also it builds that bridge and breaks the barrier between someone who might think, wow, those cops are mean. Or we might think, oh, those kids are trouble. You know what, we're all humans. And it puts us together. And it also helps solve crime, because when they get to know a police officer, they'll give you information, and that makes the town safer. And so there was always reasons for what we did. And then Big Nick's Ride, that was just a horrible tragedy in my life, and it still is, but we've learned to live with it, and to go from never riding a motorcycle in my life to someone saying, look, we want to do a ride in Nick's memory. We'll do all the work if you just say yes. And I said yes, and I learned how to ride, and here we are 10 years later last year we raised over $100,000 in one day.
That is amazing.
It is. It gives people an opportunity to thank and honor the fallen. We have 16 from the Cape that have lost their lives in this war. But more important, we say you're thanking the living. Those that made it home get to see a thank you or a sign or a pat on the back. So I guess all of the events have somehow come, I don't know, with a purpose and beyond us. And I'm very lucky to be part of all that. And I think it just comes from, really, I'm a people person.
You are. You have a huge heart, as really apparent. And your involvement in the community, I mean, it does make the community feel safer when they are able to interact and engage with their local police.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about the changing landscape of community policing, because I mean, you must have seen it change in 40 years.
I have. That's a great question. We are law enforcement. So, yes, when there's bad people, which there are, sometimes we have to arrest them and put them in the court system. And sometimes they go to jail, and sometimes that's where they belong. For instance, the person that, shot and killed Sean Gannon, that person belongs off the street. But most people are good. They really are, and some people make mistakes. So when they make a mistake, sometimes it's against the law, and we police with compassion. So I think that has evolved, where you look at the person, and that's a human. That's someone needs help. We help people. So it is locking up the bad guys, but mostly it's helping people. So that has evolved. It's become clearer, and we as police need to accept that. Like back in the early days, if someone called, let's say, with a mental health issue, you might say, well, that's not our job, that's the Department of Mental Health. Or an addiction issue, well, that's an addiction center. No, now we welcome those calls. We're the ones that are giving someone Narcan who would die if we weren't there. And it's not our job to judge them, it's our job to help them. That's community policing. It's not just arresting people, it's helping people and making a difference. For instance, the this horrible opioid crisis is horrible. In my earlier days, we never saw that. An addict was someone like an older person, that you rarely dealt with. Now we deal with it every day. And we embrace it as an opportunity to help. And so we were the first ones, the Yarmouth Police were the first ones to push the state to be able to use Narcan. The police officers couldn't use Narcan. It was a loophole in the law. So we had to wait for the fire department to come. We pushed and it passed. We were the first ones to grab Gosnold and say, you know what, these people need help, so we're going to go knock on their doors before they get in trouble. Police knocking on their doors, offering help. And we said, can you come with us and have like a Gosnold coach come with us? And they were like, you sure? And I said, yes, let's just do it. And now everybody is following what we started. And we're saving lives and making a difference. And a cool thing has happened. Now that I'm going to retire, people are sending me messages that I never knew. How we made a difference in their life. And one that sticks out is, it kind of captures what you're talking about. This young man who I've known since he was at DY, right? And he would get in trouble, and I would arrest him if I had to. But I always said, like, don't do that, and what's wrong? And then he went through a tragedy. He lost his wife, So all these things happen. They're human things. But now that I'm retiring, he reached out and he sent me this message that said, you always ask me why I did what I did. You cared, but I want you to know the reason why I did what I did at the time was I had been abused when I was younger, and I never told you that. And then when I came to you when my wife was dying, you hugged me and you told me how to get through it, and I shared my therapy type helper with that person. And it helped him get through a horrible time in his life. So for someone to write that to me kind of captures what it's all about.
Absolutely. Being a police officer comes with a lot of challenges. How did you deal with them, and what would you like to pass on to new officers starting out?
Great question. I mean, we obviously go for training, but policing is dealing with humans. And so you have to like people. All kinds of people, and that didn't come from training. It came from, for me, my parents, and I grew up in the city of New Bedford, and I've been thinking about that a lot. I grew up in a tenement. My grandmother from Greece that lived in the first floor spoke no English. My parents and I lived on the second floor, and someone else lived on the third floor in a very bad neighborhood. My friend Kevin, at age 8, we were both 8, his dad was shot to death, I lived right next to a prison. And we'd actually go inside the prison because the sheriff lived there with his family, and we would actually play with the prisoners when we were young. And it taught me, I think, looking back, that people are just people, and it doesn't matter. We shouldn't label them or judge them, and try to help, others before self. Things that I've learned kind of now, but it just came naturally. So I would say to policing is about helping people, but you have to balance. You need to be like a good, kind police officer, but you have to be able to be tough. And they call it now guardian and warrior. Yeah, so you're a guardian. You're there to help the addict, the homeless, the person who needs counseling. You can do all that. That's your guardian role. But sometimes you need to be the warrior. So when someone is, beating someone or killing someone or stabbing someone, which I've seen all of those things in my life, all of those things, you need to step in and be that warrior. So you have to balance the guardian and warrior. Most of the time you're guardian, but sometimes you got to be the warrior. And if you can't do both, you probably shouldn't be doing this job. Yeah, so that would be one thing I would tell the young police. And I'd also tell them, be proud of this profession. It's a noble profession. And you've got to take care of each other because we see so many bad things. You've got to have a good, healthy balance in your life. Take care of your family. And but stick up for each other, because sometimes people are not fair to police officers. And we need to be fair to each other.
Absolutely. So you said earlier that you are thinking about running for public office. Tell me about that.
Yes.
What will that look like?
It's another way to serve. So
Okay.
I think you asked me earlier. So the 40-year mark,
Yeah.
the department in great condition. Deputy Chief Lennon, who's taking my place, fantastic person. I used to say, I still say, we are the New England Patriots of policing. We have a great organization, and when one leaves, someone else takes their place because the culture is professional. But also, I was thinking, what do I do with the next phase of my life?
Right.
And what comes natural is not to play golf or to maybe become a security expert. It's about people. So in my district, there's the state representative, Randy Hunt, who's a great man. He's not going to run again. So people reached out to me saying, Steve, you know, you would be great in that role. So we've got a campaign team established.
Wonderful.
A chairman.
Wonderful.
But I have to decide once I retire, you know, whether or not to do that. Right now we're in the stages of thinking about it
Okay.
and building a winning team.
Okay. Well, you have my vote.
Well, thank you, thank you. It should be about service. So
Yes.
maybe that's naive, but
No, I don't think so.
that's just keep serving. And
Absolutely.
40 years of doing it brings a lot to the table.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about addiction or homelessness or Narcan or money, you know, for schools and safety, I've lived it.
That's right. And this would be an opportunity for you to work on legislation,
Correct.
you know, which would empower departments
Correct.
like
It's
you've
not
served
just
on.
reading about it, we've
Right.
lived it.
Yes.
And, so I think it would bring a unique perspective. It's not about money, it's not about fame, it's about helping people. And so that's where we're being pulled.
Beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
And of course, when you announced the retirement last week, there was an outpouring of love and support. How does that make you feel? And are you excited about the next chapter of your life?
It makes me feel wonderful. It's bittersweet because it's hard to leave something you love. I love this, you know, and helping people and using that police role in a way to help people. Like this beard, I normally, you know, police officers can't grow a beard in my department,
Okay.
but for the this month, if you pay $100, you can grow a beard, and it's to help veterans. So we're going to raise about $200,000 statewide.
Wow.
Just letting police officers grow a beard for
Wow.
a month. So that's an opportunity that helping others, which is what I believe it's all about. And but to see the messages, wow.
Yeah.
You know, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like, what a way to, it's hard to say, but end this career with these beautiful messages, you know. So I'll process it all, and I think it's very special. And hopefully people see that really my heart and soul, I put it all in there.
They will. They will, and they do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing these stories, and congrats again on your retirement.
Thank you. It's been an honor of a lifetime.
Wonderful. Thank you for watching Cape Media News Conversations. We'll be back next time.